All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing good today. We got a lot of news that came out over the last 24 hours. And yeah, it should be an interesting day today. So Kevin Warsh was named as the next FOMC chairman. So we finally know who the next FOMC chairman is Warsh. He's named as the next Fed chairman. The NASDAQ and a lot of other stuff dipped heavily yesterday, although we did have some tech earnings last night that helped relieve some of these drops. Specifically, yesterday we had SanDisk and we had SanDisk and Apple earnings yesterday. And markets mostly reacted well to that, although Apple, after their earnings call, did turn red on the day. So SanDisk is still up there. Bitcoin at 82.8s right now. You can see SanDisk is still sitting at 660s. Again, Apple sitting all the way back down at 250s here. NASDAQ is at 25.8s. It's not down that much, to be honest, in the NQ. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting few days. And today we have PPI inflation data going live at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we do have PPI inflation data going live 8:30. You can look at gold and silver. Gold at 5100s, silver all the way down at 103s. So gold and silver doing a little bit of a correction now. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, massive sell-offs in gold and silver. Like huge sell-offs. And again, today we have PPI inflation data and more. So again, the president announced this morning that he was nominating Kevin Warsh as the next FOMC chairman. Also, President announced yesterday that he struck a deal with the Democrats in the government shutdown funding fight, according to the U.S. president. So, again, Senate reaches DHS funding deal as shutdown looms. There might be a little mini shutdown still, though. So again, the Senate Dems are on board, the president's on board, and so most signs point to a way forward that is a chance to limit the next government shutdown to no more than a few days. And so the deal they made was, instead of appropriations coming in a six-pack that fully funds a lot of the government, including the Department of Homeland Security, senators are looking at a combination that would fund DHS for only 2 weeks, while 5 other appropriation measures fund the military, the IRS, and other arms of the government for the rest of the year. So basically, the DHS one is only going to be for a couple weeks. And so that'll give them more time to negotiate and get everything else funded. Again, the goal is to give leaders in the White House time to negotiate over what ICE and CPB can do. House is back next week on Monday. If that chamber's okay with the 5+1 strategy, you know, they can minimize the shutdown, but it's still looking pretty likely that we're at least going to shut down for a few days over the weekend. If you look at odds on Polymarket here, there's still a 70% chance the government shuts down for at least a little while on Saturday. You know, but it's probably only going to last a few days. So do a poll here, guys. Does today's PPI inflation data go up higher or lower than the 0.3% month over month expected? Gonna be the poll. Higher or lower? Vote on the poll. Let me know what you guys think. Also, hit the like button if you can. Hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. Again, PPI inflation data. Let's get the timer going here. But again, markets are bracing. Yeah, the market's been tumbling down yesterday. If we take a look at silver, gold, if we take a look at the SPY, I mean, the SPY is pretty red on the day as well here. Tumbled down yesterday, but the real bad ones are gold, silver, which tumbled. You know, here's silver on the bottom right. Silver all the way down to 103s, hit 120s on Thursday, back down to 103s. Yeah, SoFi had earnings this morning. We had some other stuff. Iranian foreign minister regarding the U.S. threat says the outcome of negotiations cannot be dictated before the talks, and nuclear program will not be a part of the talks, will not negotiate its defense capabilities. We had other news this morning, specifically regarding SoFi. So again, SoFi posted Q4 numbers here in guidance. They posted adjusted EPS of 12 cents for Q1 guidance. They posted Q1 net revenue guidance of 1.04 billion. Full year 26 revenue of about 4.66 billion. They expected 4.59 billion, so they raised guidance. They posted record net revenue of 1 billion. Fourth quarter adjusted EPS 13 cents, beats 12-cent estimate. Sales of 1.013 billion, beat 983.91 billion. Here's SoFi's numbers right here. Yeah, again, Kevin Warsh, new Fed chair. What happened? So again, Warsh is new chairman. Again, we'll see what happens. Today, Bitcoin down to 82s. Struggling. SoFi, if you take a look at it, had earnings. It's up pretty big on its earnings report. I'm in SoFi right now, so this is good. It's at 25s. Kind of needed it. But again, Oracle and Netflix are some of the ones that tumbled yesterday. Here's Oracle, Netflix. So both of these had pretty rough days yesterday, but that's all right. Lower, but will it matter? I did a poll. 53% think higher than expected PPI inflation data. 47% think lower. So again, 53% think we're going to have higher than expected inflation data today. This is the producer price index. It's business inflation. It usually comes after CPI, but because of delayed reports from December, we are getting the PPI report today. So we do have PPI inflation data today. But an interesting week. We had jobs numbers yesterday show up a little bit weaker than expected for jobless claims. And then today we've got PPI inflation data expected at 0.2%, 2.9% on the year for core, 2.7% on the year for headline. So yeah, both core and headline PPI today expected at 0.2%, really 0.2 or 0.3, but it's looking like somewhere around there. And NASDAQ here, we're kind of flat and choppy. I'm waiting for some pullbacks or something to get involved with. I don't know why I have so many levels here. I might have to clear these levels out. I think I will. Draw a new one based off of the price action. 5. I think 50 right here. Got this level right here. Make 75 or so. Got this low down here at like 50 even. We got 50 right here. Yeah, that's what we're. Obviously, we're watching 26,000. 26,000, big level right here. 26K is the level we're watching. But again, gold falling all the way back down to 5100s here. Gold dipping down to 5100s. Yeah, let's get a timer up here for PPI inflation data. Again, 8:30 a.m. is when PPI comes out. It's in an hour and been about an hour and 2 minutes here. So we got that timer live, but man, Bitcoin is down substantially here. We also have options expiring today. We do have big options expiring today. And so we'll see what happens. The Netherlands government coalition proposes 5 billion spending increase for defense. Where's oil at this morning? Let's see. Oil still elevated, $65 a barrel. Pulled back a little bit morning, but it hit 66.40s yesterday. Again, Bitcoin is selling off specifically today. If you look at it, it's at 82.5 right now. 82.5 right below me. There's Bitcoin right here. It's at 82.5. It's being flushed out into a macro risk-off tape with ETF outflows in today's giant options expiry, amplifying the move. It's had 5 straight days of spot ETF outflows, equaling 1.1 billion, plus nearly $1 billion more this week, show institutions cutting Bitcoin exposure and rotating into gold, silver, and cash. Again, today about 8.8 to 9 billion Bitcoin and ETH notional options are expiring today. It's pinning and then releasing price around key strikes. Max pain levels sit well above spot, leaving most calls out of the money. The move has triggered 1 to 1.7 billion in liquidations, with over 90% from long positions, as Bitcoin broke support in the high 80s, now in the low 80s. Again, speculation around a more hawkish Fed chairman in Warsh, higher real yields, and tariff and geopolitical noise is scaring people today. So again, if we look at 10-year treasuries are kind of flat. They haven't really moved that much. It's been a busy earnings season too, but again, yields, you could look at them, are at 4.24%. So they're kind of neutral on the day. They're down slightly relative to the end of yesterday, where they were at about 2.7% for yields. But again, they're at about 4.245% this morning, 4.245%. If we take a look at odds of a rate hike, a rate cut in the next meeting in March, we have about a 15% chance of a rate cut in March, about a 15% chance. So still not super high likelihood that we're going to cut rates in March. And we'll see what happens today. We have PPI inflation data. Yeah, so money markets are still wagering on more than 2 25 basis point cuts this year. So they're still thinking we get at least 2 25 basis point cuts to interest rates this year. And again, SoFi did release earnings. American Express released earnings. They posted 353. They expected 354 EPS. Revenue net of interest expense came in at 18.98 billion. They expected 18.92 billion for Amex. So they missed EPS and revenue for Amex. Again, if you look at AXP, they are down after missing EPS and revenue. Not a huge drop though. And again, one of the big stories today is that markets are questioning whether the president has caused lasting damage to U.S. assets. Equities remain near all-time highs. We had volatility last year as well, suggesting investors are willing to look past this, though. You know, and again, I don't necessarily think he has, but just reading news. But again, metals are one of the big stories today. Gold, silver. Here's gold starting to quietly creep up against silver. Corrected all the way back down to 95s early this morning at like 3 a.m. We are now back up to 103s. Yeah, I see some questions about Kevin Warsh. Again, the president nominated the new FOMC chairman. It's going to be Kevin Warsh. Markets are treating Warsh as a more hawkish pick than Powell or other finalists and pricing him that way. So strategists and traders repeatedly describe him as on the hawkish side of the spectrum in terms of FOMC chairman, with a history of prioritizing inflation control and skepticism of quantitative easing and balance sheet expansion. Yields in the dollar bounced, equities and Bitcoin sold off, and yeah, that's one of the reasons the market is down. Again, Kevin Warsh, new FOMC chairman. And again, people are worried he's going to be more hawkish than expected. What do you guys think? Do you guys think he'll be more or less hawkish than Powell? More or less hawkish, meaning restrictive, meaning higher interest rate pushing, less quantitative easing, less balance sheet expansion, more fearful of inflation. Do you think Warsh will be more or less hawkish than Jerome Powell? Let me know in chat. Put more or less. And how you feel. Again, Amex dropped earnings, SoFi dropped earnings. Yesterday we had Apple and SanDisk earnings along with others, Visa and more. Again, but the president announced Kevin Warsh, Federal Reserve Chair, to succeed Jerome Powell. Okay, the president, this is what the president said on Truth Social. The president on Truth Social said this. He said, I am pleased to announce that I am nominating Kevin Warsh to be the chairman of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. Kevin currently serves as the Shepherd Family Distinguished Visiting Fellow in Economics at the Hoover Institution and lecturer at the Stanford Graduation School of Business. He is the partner of Stanley Druckenmiller at Duquesne Family Office, LLC. Kevin received his AB from Stanford and JD from Harvard Law. He has conducted extensive research in the field of economics and finance, issued an independent report to the Bank of England proposing reforms in the conduct of monetary policy in the UK. Parliament adopted the report's recommendation. Kevin Warsh became the youngest Fed governor ever at 35 and served as a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System from 2006 until 2011 as the Fed representative to the Group of 20, G20, and as the board's emissary to the emerging and advanced economies in Asia. In addition, he was administrative governor, managing and overseeing the board's operations, personnel, financial performance. Prior to his appointment to the board from 2002 to 06, Kevin served as special assistant to the president for economic policy and executive secretary of the White House National Economic Council. I have known Kevin for a long period of time. I have no doubt that he will go down as one of the greatest Fed chairmen, maybe the best. On top of everything else, he is, quote, central casting, and he will never let you down. Congratulations, Kevin, end quote. U.S. President Trump. Also, U.S. Senator Warren is criticizing Trump's nomination of former Fed Governor Warsh as the new Fed chair, said no Republicans should agree to move forward until Trump stops the Fed probe. I don't know. I mean, look, if Warsh really is as hawkish as they think he is, you know, I don't know. So I'm seeing the responses here. Less hawkish. Less hawkish, less hawkish, less hawkish, more or less. He is picked by Trump, so why would anyone think he's going to be bad for markets? That's just dumb. Yeah, but I mean, look, you got to understand, Trump picked Jerome Powell. You know what I mean? So it's not like just because the president picks him that he's always going to do what he wants. You know, and you got to understand that. Their job is they have a fiduciary duty. You know, fiduciary means they have to look out. And, you know, a lot of the time it means the clients, but in this case, it means the country's best interest, right? So regardless of what the president wants or doesn't want, they have that duty to look out in the best interest of the the system, the economy. And so just because the president nominated him does not mean he's going to sing his tune. And, we saw it with Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell and the president are still beefing to this day. And guess who nominated Jerome Powell? Trump did. So dove in a cage, central casting. I washed my hands the whole thing. But people bought the Microsoft dip. Duquesne is how you pronounce it. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Fed chair will become more political and less data dependent now. I mean, that's definitely a risk. Apple breaking down this morning, guys. So look at Apple. Apple's starting to fall. 250s already red on the day from their earnings yesterday. But again, we got a big option expiring happening today. So what's your take on the possible merge of some of the companies? I think it's a risky bet, but it might pay off big. Again, Senator Warren suggests that GOP block the Warsh transition until Powell probe is done. Again, the president just tweeted. The president just tweeted again. He said there was great speculation that highly respected Kevin Hassett was going to be named chairman, and a great chairman he would have been. But quite honestly, he's doing such an outstanding job working with me and my team at the White House that I just didn't want to let him go. Kevin is indescribably good. So as the expression goes, if you can't do better, don't try to fix it. Thank you, Kevin, for doing such a great job, President Donald J. Trump. So again, no Hassett for chairman. It is now Warsh. He will take the position in May of this year, when Jerome Powell steps down. Again, in May of this year, when Jerome Powell steps down. So that is the news right now. Yeah, last trading day of the month, first trading month of the year. And the government's probably going to be shutting down for at least a few days up until Monday is my guess. I think it'll come back Monday. Again, but markets are treating Warsh as a more hawkish pick than Jerome Powell or other finalists and pricing him that way. The strategists and traders describe him on the hawkish side of the spectrum with a history of prioritizing inflation control and skepticism, QE, and balance sheet expansion. I don't know if we're getting non-farm payrolls next week. It's supposed to drop Friday next week, but the government's probably only going to shut down for a few days. But the question is whether they push back the payroll report anyway. If they do, it's probably only going to get pushed back about a week or so. We'll have to wait and see for next week. I believe they vote Monday, so the government will probably reopen Tuesday. The question is, do they push back payrolls, which we're again set to drop late next week. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Again, PPI inflation drops at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. 8:30. Again, Senate Democrats are on board, and the president and the Senate Dems, all signs point to away from them to limit the next shutdown to no more than a few days instead of an appropriation six-pack deal that funds the government for the full year with six. Including the Department of Homeland Security. Senators are looking at a combo that would fund Department of Homeland Security only for 2 weeks while they negotiate in that period, and then fund the rest of the military, IRS, and more for the rest of the year. So that's what they're looking at now. That's probably what's going to be happening. The House is back on Monday. If that chamber's okay with the 5+1 strategy, I'll have to get the deal done Monday, and we'll be back rolling Tuesday with the government. So that's what it's looking like now. We are due for another November size correction very soon. If not now, then when? Maybe. If government shut down, would metals go up? Possibly. Possibly not, though. We don't know. Not if it's looking more and more likely that it's going to be a very short shutdown, I think. Yeah, SoFi earnings are out. SoFi BDPS and revenue raised guidance. They're up pretty big from it. They're up to $26 a share almost right now in SoFi. $26 a share right now for SoFi. So yeah, I mean, they beat EPS revenue and raised guidance. So is it time to buy the dip? Put yes or no in chat. Let me know. Is it time to buy the dip? 57% think we get higher than expected PPI inflation data. Again, 56% now to 44% thinking we're going to get lower inflation data. Again, the government's set to shut down, but we are potentially getting more data next week. Next week is not a small week. Put this in perspective. And I don't know if they're going to delay this data just because the government's only going to stay shut down for a very small period of time. So I don't know if they're going to delay this data here. But again, if you look at this, we are supposed to get the labor report Friday. Payrolls Friday. Expected at 50,000 payrolls. Or maybe that's what we showed up as last time. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so they don't even give us an expectation yet. I'll have to look at what it is. But again, February 6th, we're supposed to get non-farm payrolls, unemployment, prelim, Michigan consumer sentiment, jobless claims, Thursday, ADP monthly report, Wednesday next week. And we're going to get the ADP report regardless because that's a private payroll processor that releases the data. So it's not government data. But we're supposed to get the JOLTS job opening on Tuesday, which is a government report, ISM services, which will release no matter what, and ISM manufacturing on Monday. So we got a lot of stuff next week here. The question is, does the shutdown last longer than Monday? Does the shutdown last longer than Monday? I don't know. Does it? SanDisk had earnings yesterday, and they were the biggest winner yesterday by far for SanDisk, which is a memory processor. They are benefiting incredibly well from the price of memory going up so substantially over the last year. SanDisk up to $670 a share at the highs this morning. It's at 6 something now. But again, huge moves for SanDisk. Crazy moves. Again, memory processor or memory producer. So they are benefiting from the incredibly high, margins of high price storage and memory. I thought we struck a deal to avoid a shutdown. We did, but it hasn't been voted on and put in yet. We did, but it hasn't been put up yet, basically. So, we did strike a deal to, fund the government for the most part between the president announced it yesterday. Senate Dems confirmed it. But the House is not back in session. They can pass it in the Senate, but the House ain't back until Monday next week. So they need both. Since it changes the previous approved House one, House has to approve it again, and we don't have that yet. So House needs to approve it. Senate Dems and the president agreed on it, but the House has to approve it. And again, the other story of the day is Bitcoin down to 82,000s. Again, Bitcoin down to 82,000, roughly 91,000 Bitcoin options, about 7.5 to 8.3 billion in value, and 435 to 440,000 ETH options, about 1.2 to 1.3 billion in value, expire today, which is nearly 25% of total crypto options. Again, this is scaring a lot of people. Max paying around 90K, and so now that we're under 90K, huge call open interest stacked at 100,000, and so now that we're down to 82.5 thousand, markets are a little nervous in crypto, man. Crypto's down. Let's see if we hold. Okay, I'm reading something that says London Metals Exchange is going to delay opening today, Friday, January 30th. The London Metal Exchange has delayed the start of trading on Friday due to technical issues, according to a notice to brokers seen by Bloomberg. Let's see if let's see if silver reacting to this. Look at silver fall down here. Let's see if gold starts to react to this. They're both down pretty substantially as well. Again, gold all the way down to 51s. Silver all the way down to $100 an ounce. It was at 120s yesterday. Yesterday it was at 120s or something like that. Yeah, yesterday 121.70s for silver. But since then, we've basically been a tumble down in both markets and futures. Spot markets and futures. Right and left have to agree on the act. Crash hard. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, this will be the next FOMC chairman. I'll be sad when Jerome Powell steps down. Not for any, reason outside of I use them so much in my thumbnails. I'm gonna have to put Warsh up, in my thumbnails. So I'll have to throw Warsh in my thumbnails now, starting in May. Yeah, I have to put Warsh up, starting in May. Yeah, we'll see what happens now. All right, guys. So, no matter what, call it a Warsh. Too late. Wash up Powell. Got to give Warsh the big head treatment. That's right. Jerome Powell navigated his term the best he can. Might go down as the best chair. Then he said inflation was transitory. Don't worry. Powell wants $30,000 houses. The president wants $500,000 houses. I don't know if it's that simple. It's somewhere in the middle. There is a dynamic of like Powell. The president wants lower interest rates for homes, which can drive prices down, but it can also drive them up. It's not easy. Again, the president's still tweeting here. He says, quote, Christopher Waller, Rick Ryder, and others were interviewed for the Fed position. They all would have been outstanding and have a great and unlimited future with me. Such amazing talent in our country. Thank you. Again, he also said he passed on appointing Hassett as Fed chair because he, quote, didn't want to let him go from his administration. He said Kevin is indescribably good. Again, Senator Warren suggests that the GOP block Warsh nomination until Powell probe is dropped. And yeah. Amex CFO says holiday shopping season was very strong for card members. All right, guys, gold and silver still tumbling down here. Again, yesterday we had Microsoft. No, I'm sorry. Yesterday we had Apple earnings. Apple is red. We had SanDisk earnings. Look at SanDisk, guys. 660s. Are you still interested in buying SanDisk? Let me know. SNDK. A lot of people are pushing for $1,000 a year. There's $1,000 this year per share. Brainwashed. There's so many puns you could use for wash. There's so many puns. Here's a good question. Has Jerome Powell been a good FOMC chairman? I know this one's sure to ruffle some feathers. Has Jerome Powell been a good FOMC chair? That's the question. Jerome Powell been a good FOMC chair. What do you guys think? Let me know in chat right now. We got 40 minutes left until PPI inflation data. 40 minutes. Let's see. Let's see a yes, no, hell no, yeah, yep, yes, no, yes, yes. 7 out of 10. Yeah, give me your out of 10 rating for Jerome Powell. Out of 10 rating. 1 through 10. Give me your rating for Jerome Powell. Let me know. Here's a solid C. I can respect the neutrality. I can respect it. Coming from the top 5 most neutral person ever, I can respect it. If I had to grade myself on how neutral I am, I'd put myself at a 5. 4 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 10, 9.7 out of 10. Listen, guys, these are rookie scores. Rookie scores, all right? Some of you guys know what I mean by that. Except for Peter's 9.7. That's not a rookie score. Chris, 9.5. That's not a rookie score. 7.5. That's not a rookie score either. If anybody watches Portnoy pizza reviews, you know what I'm talking about. I see a lot of 8s, a lot of low numbers. Pretty polarized on whether we think Powell is a good chairman here. -5. PPI is business inflation. It's wholesale inflation, which eventually gets passed on to consumers and eventually hitting CPI price index and more. So it's business inflation. Yeah, it's business inflation. Again, generally speaking, we get PPI after CPI, but because of delayed data and the government shutdown previously, we're getting PPI inflation for December today. Now, it's some of the less delayed inflation data. It's some of the less inflation data that we're getting here. So it's not super delayed like a lot of the data we've seen over the last few months. A lot of the data has been delayed. But today's data is not so delayed. It's still from December. But I mean, we're only in January right now, so you know, is the U.S. shutdown averted? Not really. We're still going to shut down at least for a few days. To put it into perspective, the Senate has agreed on something, but the House has to approve it, and the House is not back in session until Monday. Meaning, starting after tomorrow at midnight, not today at midnight. Technically, it'll be Saturday morning at midnight. The government will be shut down, and it's not going to be able to be put back. Resuming the government until at least Monday, maybe Tuesday. So well, they can vote on it Monday, so it's probably going to be Tuesday before the government's technically back and not shut down. Now the big question again, next week we have next week we have the real big monthly labor report. The big monthly labor report, non-farm payrolls and unemployment drop. Friday, we have the ADP data on Wednesday, but that's a private payroll processor, so that data is coming out regardless of whether the government shut down. We've got ISM manufacturing. We got JOLTS jobs supposed to come out Tuesday, but JOLTS is government data. So the job report from JOLTS is supposed to come out Tuesday. We'll see if they push that back as well. It's not going to be like the previous shutdown where we were shut down for a month and a half, but we'll probably shut down at least for a few days. I will probably buy this dip right here. Let me see. Again, I'm going to start buying this. We're at the 200 exponential. We're down a lot. We'll see if we can buy this dip here. Here we go. Love to see the bounce at the 200 exponential. Take a little bit of this off up here. I mean, we got a cushion. Cushion is good. Still pushing. Take a little bit more off there as we rise. I'd love 850s, but I'm going to cut most of this now so that I'll be green nonetheless and then let the rest ride a little bit here. Again, PPI inflation data. Ooh, look at that bounce. Another bounce. Nice. Okay, we'll take more off here. Give me a little cushion on the day here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get 850s, but we got the nice little bounce. I'm worried this previous level right here is going to reject us. And 850s is up there, so I'm just going to cut it. We got a very nice bounce at the 200 exponential. Like I like it. Again, 200 EMA, guys. I'm just saying. 200 exponential on a 1-minute chart just works a lot of the time. Yeah, SanDisk. Crazy moves from earnings. Honestly, SanDisk had one of the biggest beats in this entire earnings season so far. Might be the biggest beat. Just to put this into perspective, if you look at SanDisk here. Again, if you look at SanDisk posted huge numbers here. Huge numbers. They posted 620 adjusted EPS versus 360s expected. Revenue of 3.03 billion. They expected 2.69 and a huge guidance raise. They raised guidance from 363 expected to $12 to $14 for Q3 adjusted EPS guidance. So crazy raises to guidance for SanDisk, and they are reacting like it. They're reacting like it. Look at the NASDAQ all the way back up to 850s here. And again, they are acting like it today. Not just the beat, but the guide is insane. Yeah, the guidance is what really was the big beat here. Again, from 360 expected to $12 to $14. You know, $3 and something to $12 minimum, up to 14, 12 to 14. You can call it 13. That's a huge guidance raise, huge guidance raise. And again, this is a memory producer. They sell memory and RAM. And RAM has gotten expensive. You know, anybody's tried to buy RAM lately, you know. You know, you want to buy 32 gigs, it's like $700 now. Wild. Wild. Or 64 gigs, I should probably say. They are milking the memory storage as much as possible. What's your opinion on Tesla trying to steer away from being an EV production company and wants to ramp up Optimus production? Who would buy Optimus? I mean, I think it's there's definitely risks involved. It's definitely more speculative, but if they do it successfully, it might pay off big. Obviously, I think they're looking at what the future is, and it's going to be AI, and they're trying to be one of the big leaders in AI and in robotics. I think robotics is obviously the next big money pulling markets. Look at that 850. I think when you look at things objectively, we have artificial intelligence now, we have AI, we have LLM, we have something that we can implant into robots, and that's the next money grab. That's the next money pull. That's the next big thing that's going to get funding in markets, and I think they're just trying to get in front of that. And so it's definitely more speculative. It's definitely a riskier thing than sticking with their legacy business. But again, if they do it well, it's going to probably earn big money. So you get 850s here on the NASDAQ, 850s, 830s. 30 minutes, guys, 30 minutes. Dollar Roofs, DDR7's coming out. They made too much DDR6. Yeah, maybe. SanDisk beat really going to pump the market or dump it? It's already up. I don't know if SanDisk is going to continue going up, but it's already up some. I get only one borrower is contemplating a US IG bond sale according to Bloomberg today as well. And again, we got PPI inflation going live 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. Again, the president announced that he chose Kevin Warsh as the next FOMC chair. Next FOMC chair, Kevin Warsh. Let me do this. Let me see if it'll let me do this, bro. Hold on. It will let me do this. There's Warsh right there. Yeah, NASDAQ did bounce right at the at the 200 exponential. NASDAQ did bounce at the 200 exponential. 60 to 80. You get Bitcoin now at 8260s. Options expiring in crypto. Broken down under some big levels, specifically 90. A lot of bets were at 100, and so being at the level now at 82 is scaring people in crypto. We had some big drops earlier this morning. It was a good trade even if it goes higher. I think so, yeah. A lot of people think Warsh is going to be more hawkish, and so markets are kind of pricing a hawkish Warsh in. Again, they're treating Warsh as more hawkish, Picton Powell and other finalists and pricing him that way, so they see him on the hawkish side of the spectrum in markets with a history of, you know, looking at inflation and prioritizing it and control over quantitative easing and balance sheet expansion. So yields in the dollar went up, you know, from this. If you look at 10-year treasury yields, again, they are up a little bit following this news that came out not that long ago. Here's 10-year treasuries. They bounced a little bit. The news came out about right here. So we dropped about right here. They're actually net green from it. Yields and interest rates follow each other. So if yields increase, interest rate sentiment is higher. What it is. And again, it looks like we're at the very least going to have a very small shutdown instead of a big one. Senate Democrats are on board. The president's on board. Instead of an appropriation six-pack that funds the government fully, including Department of Homeland Security, senators are looking at a combo that would fund DHS only for 2 weeks and everything else for the year. And that way they can negotiate for the next 2 weeks and get the government back on track for a small shutdown. You know, at the very least, House is not going to be back until Monday, so we'll probably shut down until at least Tuesday starting tomorrow. But it's better than a long shutdown. And again, we did a poll this morning. 56% think we're going to have higher inflation data today than 0.3% month over month. 44% think lower. SoFi just made a big move this morning as well. SoFi earnings came out. They beat EPS revenue and raised guidance. SoFi up to $26 a share. NASDAQ continuing to bounce back. And if I have a bias today, it's bullish. Why is my bias bullish? Well, because markets are down a ton yesterday and the day before. So markets are down. Maybe we'll bounce back some. Maybe it's confirmation bias. I don't know. But again, we'll see. Again, 26 minutes. So PPI inflation data, 26 minutes. I'm definitely biased. Top 3 most biased person ever. And remember, I am not an investment professional. I am not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade smart. I can't guarantee anything. Do not copy me. Not an investment professional. We are not liable if you lose. Understand CFTC 4.41. All that good stuff. But Apple started to bounce back. We did have Apple earnings yesterday. Apple negatively reacted in pre-market this morning. So it's actually a little red this morning. Gold and silver have been on massive corrections as well. Silver all the way down to $100 from 120s yesterday. So again, gold and silver correcting some today as well. Yeah, the puns with Kevin Warsh, with Warsh. That's a Warsh, you know. You think Kevin is Warsh or better? No, that's not a good one. Give me your best Kevin Warsh puns in chat right now. Let me know. They got to be better than mine. SoFi earnings are already out, brother. So SoFi earnings came out a while ago, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, SoFi earnings came out way earlier. Again, they beat EPS revenue, raised guidance. What they did for SoFi. So they're already out. SoFi's already up from it. NASDAQ still fighting back, though. All washed up. We are so washed. It's just you. There's sound. Was he an expected Fed chairman nominee? Yeah, he was. So they called him the two Kevins. We had Kevin Hassett and Kevin Warsh. Those were the two highest probability nominees for chairman. Kevin Warsh, Kevin Hassett. President basically on Kevin Hassett this morning essentially said this. He said, there was great speculation that highly respected Kevin Hassett was going to be named chairman of the Fed, and a great chairman he would have been, but quite honestly, he's doing such an outstanding job working with me and my team at the White House that I just didn't want to let him go. Kevin is indescribably good, so as the expression goes, if you can't do better, don't try to fix it. Thank you, Kevin, for doing such a great job, the president. So it's not Hassett. He wants to keep Hassett at his current position, but Warsh and Hassett were the two big nominees. He was also looking at Ryder, but he didn't end up picking any of them. He picked Warsh. That's a Warsh. He picked Warsh. All right, guys. We get 25 minutes before PPI inflation data releases here. 25 minutes. See what we get today for PPI inflation. Again, PPI inflation expected at 0.2% on the month, 2.9% on the year for core, 2.7% on the year for headline, and 0.2% on the month for core and headline PPI inflation month over month. Again, expected at 0.2% month over month for core and headline, 2.7% for headline year over year, and 2.9% for core year over year. We've also had a lot of recent layoff announcements. Specifically, the U.S. government laid off 307,000 employees. UPS laid off 878,000. Amazon laid off 30,000. Intel laid off 25,000. Nissan laid off 20K. Nestle laid off 16,000. Microsoft laid off 15,000. Bosch laid off 13K. Dell 12,000. Verizon 13,000. Accenture 11,000. Ford 11,000, and more. Microsoft 7,000. IBM 2,700. Paramount 2,000. Target 1,800. GM 1,500. Kroger 1,000. Meta 1,000. So again, a lot of people are speculating that AI is officially and now starting to replace jobs. Look at Apple. Apple jumping up. I'm not sure why, but look at Apple. Pop it up. Maybe on some news here for Apple. We see some volume increasing, but it's not a ton. But Apple pop it up right now as we speak here. Look at Apple. Again, Apple up 258s for Apple. So Apple is rising here. Nasdaq is kind of following suit here. Nvidia is starting to go up a little bit, but yeah, this is Apple popping right now. Look at the volume. We caught it here first. 258s for Apple. Again, U.S. Republican Senator Tillis says he will continue to oppose the confirmation of any Fed chair nominee until the Department of Justice's inquiry into Chair Powell was fully resolved. Again, Apple is moving this morning. Rosenblatt maintained neutral and Apple raised price target at 267s. I don't know if that's what's driving this higher here. I don't see any news for Apple, but Apple's popping up. Maybe somebody knows something. A Warsh per day keeps the hawks away. Yeah, Warsh is the next Fed chairman. He nominated him this morning about an hour and a half ago, really, what it was. The Warsh is nominated as the next Fed chairman. Again, but they are now urging the GOP not to support the Fed pick until the Department of Justice probe ends into Jerome Powell and the Fed building stuff. So a lot of question marks here. All right, guys. Again, PPI inflation data going live in about 20 minutes here. 20 minutes, chat. What do we get? In 20 minutes. Apple's popping up. Gold and silver are down. Nasdaq's dipping down a little bit. Again, 20 minutes until PPI inflation. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. I want lower inflation numbers, but I think they're going to be higher. Yeah, again, inflation expectations is expected at 2.7% for headline year over year, 2.9% for core year over year. Headline and core month over month are both expected around 0.2%. 0.2%. Again, silver and gold pulling back here. Again, silver and gold pulling back. If it holds Bitcoin down big today. Better see. Get Bitcoin down to 82,000s. Nasdaq pulling back. I might buy 850 if we get a chance to here. Maybe 850 buy. Fed likes to say they don't have they have inflation under control since 2022, but I don't think so. Prices still haven't really slowed down for the most things. Yeah, I mean, what things do you see prices not slowing down for, excluding food and energy? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just curious. You know, let me know. Silver, more of a correction than a pullback. Yeah, I mean, silver's down from 120s to 100s right now. I didn't quite get a pullback to 850. That's okay. Look at that 200 exponential bounce. I probably should have held a little bit longer, but I mean, we've seen housing prices slow down. I think we've seen housing prices slow. Have they slowed substantially? No, not really, but they've slowed some, in my opinion. Transportation, maybe. I have to look at transportation costs, but yeah, housing prices are down. All right, guys, look at the Nasdaq jump here still. 880s. 880s. And Nasdaq's climbing back higher, close to 26,000 on the NQ. Again, if we take a look at the SPY here, there's gold at 5100s again. Here's the SPY. SPY's at 690, still red on the day, but see if we continue to rebound here. Palantir earnings next week. We have Palantir earnings next week. I don't know. Palantir has been interesting to watch. They have dipped under 150s here. But they were up so much, you know, from 70s to 200 plus. See what happens. Earnings next week on Monday. You get a little bit less than 20 minutes now until PPI inflation data releases. Party is over for silver. In Austin, we're down 28% from the last 3-year high. Glad I stayed patient. You're talking about in housing? Yeah, I mean, Austin's had some really high numbers in housing, though. Oil went crazy yesterday. Yeah, well, oil's going to go up because of tensions in the Middle East, right? So food and energy prices, the reason you look at core inflation a lot of the time is because food and energy prices are subject to have volatility and variance, like higher variance than normal prices. Why? Because oil scarcity worries because of tensions in the Middle East make oil spike, and that's what we've seen the last few days with oil. Again, oil's currently sitting, if you look at the bottom chart here, oil's sitting at $65 a barrel as of now. Hit 66 something yesterday, 66.40s yesterday. And this is just from scarcity and worries and tensions in Iran that we've had over the last few days. So oil prior to those tensions was back down to like 50, some 59 a barrel or 58 a barrel, whatever. Now they're at 66, 65. Again, silver is correcting down. Gold is too. After yesterday, silver early this morning hit $95 an ounce. Gold tapped $5,000 an ounce early this morning. So silver and gold corrected a little bit. And again, we got 16 minutes. So PPI inflation data dropped 16 minutes. Hey, Trance, if you're right, bro, you're right. I'll give you credit. Are the valuations of these equities higher? Are they the new norm? I asked people yesterday, will AI catch up to the valuations? Most people said yes. Again, I did a poll today. Does today's PPI inflation data show up higher or lower than the 0.3% month-over-month expected? Let me know. Again, Kevin Warsh named FOMC chair. Yeah, PE ratio of Palantir is pretty high. Bitcoin and other crypto are down today. Again, we have some option expiry stuff going on today. Bitcoin selling off, being flushed into macro risk off. 5 straight days of spot ETF outflows at 1.1 billion, plus nearly a billion more this week, show institutions cutting Bitcoin exposure and rotating into gold, silver, and cash. Again, there's a huge option overhang. 8.8 to 9 billion Bitcoin and ETH notional options expiring today. The moves triggered 1 to 1.7 billion in liquidations, over 90% from long positions as it broke down under 90K, and it's in the low 80s now. So again, potentially more hawkish Fed chair and Warsh, higher yields, tariff geopolitical worries, and risk off tone and pressuring Bitcoin as well, pressuring Bitcoin. And again, we got PPI inflation data going live at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. Guys, PPI inflation live 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. We have 14 minutes left. 14 minutes. Again, we also got news that somebody tagged me in this on social media 5 hours ago, or a little bit earlier, but it says London Metal Exchange is said to delay market opening. The London Metal Exchange has delayed the start of the trading day Friday due to technical issues, according to a notice sent to brokers seen by Bloomberg. And so the London Metal Exchange is going to delay opening today as well. Any predictions for the Super Bowl? Yeah, I have no idea. Again, are y'all bullish or bearish over the next 13 minutes until PPI inflation data? Are you bull or bears on today's inflation data, guys? Let me know. Bullish or bearish today? Again, PPI inflation data drops at 8:30 Eastern Time. It's expected at 0.2% month over month for core and headline, 2.7% for headline year over year, and 2.9% for core year over year PPI inflation. PPI is the producer price index. It's wholesale business inflation. It can sometimes lead to consumer prices. Again, we're going to cover it live as soon as it drops at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And Jake Sherman saying the Senate White House deal will be hard to pull off. All right, guys. 12 minutes. Again, we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get, but it's almost time. Get PPI inflation data. 8:30. Microsoft, Meta have made some big moves over the last few days. Microsoft tumbled down, but it's now technically green on the day, and I'm still in Microsoft. Did I buy Microsoft? Was it yesterday I bought it? Hey, I'm not mad. I'll tell you that. You know what? Microsoft down so much, I'll probably just sit in there. I'm green on it. Entry 420s. At 430, it's almost 440 now. So not gonna sell. Again, PPI inflation data live. 12 minutes. 12 minutes. This is an office. It's actually got a bookshelf here, if you see it. That's just the cabinets for the office behind me. Cabinets from the office. I don't want to mess up my camera bad. But yeah. Again, we got PPI inflation data today. Again, PPI inflation data today. 9:45, we got Chicago PMI data. And again, this is all leading into next week's potential government shutdown, labor report, non-farm payrolls, unemployment report, JOLTS report, ISM manufacturing and services report, ADP monthly report on Wednesday next week. So this is heading into all that stuff. Let's see what we get. My kitchen? I'm the cook of Wall Street, guys. What do you guys expect? You know? If it's a kitchen, it's a nice kitchen. All right, guys. Again, NASDAQ. Let's put the NQ up. Again, NASDAQ at 256 or 250, 25,860. Silver down to $100 an ounce. Bitcoin down to 82 an ounce. Gold at 5,100 an ounce. So a lot of stuff's down today, guys. A lot of stuff's down, and this is after Warsh was named new chairman. People are pricing that as a more hawkish than expected chairman than some of the other options. So, again, we'll see what happens now. Get heading into the PPI inflation data coming soon. PPI moves markets usually. No shutdown. We probably are going to shut down at least for a few days. So again, right now they've announced that the Senate and the president reached a deal. But the House still has to approve it, and the House isn't back in session until Monday to vote on it. And also, the government shuts down like at midnight. Technically, the government will be shut down tomorrow morning. So at the very least, we're going to shut down for a few days here, until at least Monday or Tuesday. So that's what it is. Yeah, so it'll be a little mini shutdown, basically. But it's probably not going to last long. Exxon said the Trump administration must understand Venezuela challenge. Verizon also the CFO says they expect to see improvements in public sector wireless volumes in the first half of 2026. Again, 9 minutes left, chat. 9 minutes. Again, Verizon CFO says public sector results were impacted by residual disconnects from government efficiency efforts, federal government shutdown, and more. They say AI will simplify offers, personalize interactions, and reduce churn through smart, consistent marketing. They said they're going to use AI to this is Verizon, going to use AI to optimize operations and fundamentally reshape customer experience. They're targeting the launch of the company's new proposition in the first half of this year. Expect to add at least 2 million fiber passing this year. Again, Exxon CEO says the rules of the game were changed in Venezuela. Again, 8 minutes, guys. 8 minutes. Been a busy week, man. I'm excited to rest a little bit. Bitcoin 82 per ounce. Did I say an ounce? 82.6 a coin for Bitcoin. Gold at under $5,100 an ounce. Silver at $100 an ounce. All right, guys, here we go. Again, PPI inflation data 8:30. This is delayed data from December, but it's just January. So this is some of the more recent inflation data that we've seen considering the shutdown. Again, some of the more recent inflation data we've seen, less delayed inflation data that we've seen. Again, this is December data, and it drops at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time in about 7 minutes. Nasdaq's pulling back down. If we have some time to buy this 850 dip, I'll try to ahead of PPI inflation, but we'll see. Tumble on gold and silver. Yeah, gold and silver correcting pretty substantially. Okay, so U.S. Senate Banking Chairman Scott says he is confident Kevin Warsh will work to instill confidence and credibility into monetary policy. Again, Apple, SanDisk released earnings yesterday. Apple's now technically green on the day after dropping down red for a little while. SanDisk is up a huge amount to 667s, almost 668s. And again, we got about 6.5 minutes left. And we got PPI inflation data live in a couple minutes. Again, we do have PPI 8:30. See if we get anything good. Higher or lower, guys. Put higher or lower. We did a poll. SoFi, good numbers. Yeah, SoFi's up. All right, so here's 850s. I'm going to try to buy this dip ahead of it. Did I get it in time? I don't think so. Probably add to this if I want. We got a decent cushion already on the day. I want to see if we bounce. The 200 exponential is right down there. I want to give it a second. We already have a cushion. So, try. A little bit riskier than I normally take, but this is also a combine, so right if I lose. We'll give it a second. Again, PPI inflation data, 5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes. If we retrace up here. We're about flat now, actually. Again, PPI inflation data, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 8:30. Oh, we're definitely down here. Again, I'm wondering if things are pricing in for this inflation report, Warsh being hawkish and more. 0.3 compared to 0.2 in December. Great day to trade futures. Yeah, I gotta cut this probably. Give it a second. But we're already green on the day, so it's honestly not that bad of a loss if we do take it. I'm back. I mean, PPI can generally move. It's all relative to what's expected. So it really just depends on what's expected. Yeah, we're gonna cut this. It really just depends on what's expected today, to be honest. Again, today, 2.7% for headline year-over-year PPI, 2.9% for core. All right, guys, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Again, PPI month over month comes out, expected at 0.2. For PPI year over year. I'm sure it's some expecting it at 3, but mostly 2.9%. Headline, again, expected at 2.7. Bowman's also speaking at 5 o'clock today. We got Chicago PMI dropping at 9:45. See, there's the 200 exponential bounce. I could have held it. It's all right, though. We're getting kind of close to this report. Yeah, you're not wrong, Huffy. It did pump once I cut it, but all right. Again, it's a combine account, so I can trade it a little bit greedier, I think, than expected. But if we didn't have PPI inflation data dropping in 3 minutes, I might have held. All right, so Freeport LNG in Texas is on track to take in more natural gas today after the liquefaction train shut on Thursday. Again, 3 minutes left. 3 minutes, guys. Hit the live button next to the play button, put it into XP. Look at that bounce at the 200 exponential. I love the 200 EMA. Got faked out, should have stuck with it, should have believed. I probably got in a little early, though. 850 where I jumped in. I should have maybe waited for 830 is the issue there, but that's okay. Again, 2.5 minutes. So PPI inflation data drops. 2.5 minutes. better music. This. There we go. Yeah, 200 exponential just works. That thing just works. Again, 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes left. Let's see what we got today. Here we go. Again, PPI goes live 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We got a minute and 30 seconds, minute and 40 seconds. We'll see if this moves markets. I'm not sure. God, will be perfect at auctions. I'd be the top 3 greatest auctioneer ever. All right, guys, we got a minute and 20 seconds. A minute and 20 seconds. I don't understand how people can say the market can be bullish when there's shutdown news this weekend. Last time the market, the government shutdown, market actually went up during the shutdown. Believe it or not, market actually went green during the shutdown last time. All right, guys, 1 minute. Again, crypto's down big. Kevin Warsh is the new nominee for chairman. Bitcoin, as you look at it, down to 82,000 on fears. Again, we got less than a minute now. Again, less than a minute. 45 seconds. PPI inflation data. I heard they already avoided a shutdown. We'll talk about it after PPI. I'll go into it. We're going to shut down at least for a few days. House is not back in session until Monday. All right, guys. PPI inflation data live in about 30 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Catch up to the stream. And let's see what we get today, guys. Let's see what we get. And I'm going to put the SPY. Gold is at the top. Bitcoin's on the right. Here we go. We got 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Again, hit the live button. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up to the stream. Here we go with PPI inflation data. Here we go with PPI inflation data. We have 5 seconds left. 5 seconds left. And here's the report right now for PPI inflation data. We had Canadian GDP show up at 0%. 0%. And again, look at this whipsaw in markets for PPI inflation data. The market just whipped. Still waiting for the PPI number. Look at that drop here. PPI showed up higher than expected everywhere. 0.5% on the month for December. 0.5% on the month versus 0.2% expected. 0.7% core PPI month over month. 0.5% on the month versus 0.2% expected. 0.7% on the month for core PPI. Way higher than the expected number here. And the market did not like this. Look at the market tumble here. Again, higher than expected PPI inflation data. Scared a lot of people. Again, higher than expected PPI inflation data. Again, core PPI is higher than expected as well. But man, the market did not like this. Way higher than expected data here. Again, way higher than expected. Again, PPI month over month, 0.5% versus 0.2% expected. Year over year, 3% versus 2.7% expected here. So higher than expected. NASDAQ fell down big on this report. And again, PPI higher than expected. 3% on the year versus 2.7% expected. 0.5% on the month versus 0.2% expected. I love you, bud. Have a good day. Great day, dude. Again, higher than expected inflation data. I love you guys. Have a good day. Higher than expected. Noticeably higher. Again, core PPI showed up higher than expected as well today. Again, core PPI 0.7. Core PPI year over year 3.3 versus 2.9%. Higher everywhere for inflation data. This is what I'm saying. It all has to do with expectations. This is high inflation data today, guys. This is high inflation. This is not low. This is high inflation data. It's scaring everybody. NASDAQ's falling down. NASDAQ's falling down. Again, way higher than expected inflation data. Again, higher than expected core, headline, month over month, and regular for PPI inflation data. We're taking a look at the actual report right now. But again, producer price index 0.5%. Way higher than expected here today. Way higher than expected everywhere. Again, way higher than expected everywhere here. Again, look at the NASDAQ tumble here. Producer price final demand increased 0.5% in December. Seasonally adjusted U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Final demand prices advanced 0.2% in November, 0.1% in October. Final demand services, index for final demand services advanced 0.7 in December, the largest increase since moving up 0.9% in July. 2/3 of the broad range for December rise. Again, so core PPI up 0.4% month over month. Services drove the upside. Final demand services up 0.7%, the largest since July, led by 1.7% in trades margins. Goods were flat overall as core goods were up 0.34%, offset by drops in food and energy. Machinery and equipment wholesaling margins up 4.5%. Pipeline inflation is mixed, but yeah, this is high inflation today, guys. Again, final demand goods, prices for final demand goods unchanged in December following 0.8% increase in November. December 0.4% advance in index for final demand, less food and energy. But yeah, services 2.7% advance in the index. So 0.7% in December, largest increase, moving up 0.9% in July. So yeah, this is higher inflation data here, higher inflation data. Not good. It's not good. Higher producer prices can sometimes lead to higher consumer prices. And this was noticeably higher than expected here. See what happens. NASDAQ fell. Why is my portfolio going up on high inflation? That's how it works, brother. That's how it works. Companies make more the more prices they pay. Higher prices means they make more. Yeah, crypto going up, which is odd as well. Higher inflation making crypto go up is strange because crypto wants easy. Right now, again, just to put some things into perspective here. Last PPI month over month, 0.2. It's now 0.5. Last core PPI year over year, 3.1. It's now 3.3. Last core PPI month over month was 0. It's now 0.7. So inflation everywhere went up. Inflation everywhere went up for wholesale businesses. Again, higher than expected inflation basically everywhere in this PPI inflation report. Again, let's watch yields here. Let's see what yields are doing. But again, I might short on this report. I might short if we get a bounce here. You know what? We're going to try to short. See what happens. We're at the 200 exponential. I want to see if we pivot back down. We're going to add some size to this, take some risk. And if we lose it, we lose it. It's okay. Maybe I should have waited for the 200 exponential again, and I didn't. That's all right. Get it. Go big or go home here, huh? See if the 200 exponential rejects it. But look at yields right now, guys. Look at yields. So again, look at what yields are doing. Yields have spiked on this report as well here. Oh, we're almost green. We are green. Hey, you love to be green here. We're going to start unloading some profit into this big move. But look at yields right now. Again, guys, yields spiked on this report as expected. I mean, not really a shock. I want to short the 200 exponential here and see if we come back down. We did have high inflation. So I do want to see if we trace back down like we're doing exactly right now. Add some size into this, see if we tumble down some more here. Okay, we did have high inflation, PPI inflation, universally high. I'll put this data up on the bottom of the screen scrolling here. Handle this, but again, PPI month over month 0.5 versus 0.2% expected. Previous was 0.2. So. Inflation data not good. I'd say not good. And yell at me if this position goes sideways. I'm trying to reduce this. So we actually have the inflation data on the screen. There we go. All right, guys, inflation data is out. Yeah, higher than expected inflation everywhere here, chat. Basically higher than expected inflation everywhere. Again, inflation data heated today. All right, so we're green now in this position here. We are shorting. I'm gonna cover some more. Lock in some profits. Give the last little bit. I want to take all in. There we go. You'd love to see it. Look at this drop. Right, take a little bit more. So far, so good. Attacking that 200 exponential rejection. Look at the 200 EMA, man. Rejecting again. And we can probably hold the rest close to break even now. But again, higher than expected inflation data, guys. Higher than expected inflation. Yeah. Look at this trade. We'd love to see it. We're going to take a little bit more off now as well, just because we can. Here we go. Maybe I'll add it back here. Again, yields did spike a little bit on this report. But we'll add some size back here and play a little bit riskier strategy. Maybe we break down some more. A very green trade so far, shorting the rebound into inflation data that was hot. We'll see if it continues here. Again, the president did nominate Warsh as the next chairman. And again, markets priced him in as more hawkish chairman than expected. Bostic also says inflation is too high and needs to come down. Want clear evidence of a return to 2% here. And so I'm going to cut the rest here, pretty much flat. Nice little green trade there. Again, Bostic says inflation is too high. It needs to come down. They want clear evidence of a return to 2%. We actually made pretty good money on that trade. Again, inflation data showed hot numbers here, hotter than expected for sure. Let me see if I can expand this with. We could put Warsh somewhere else if we need to. Expand the text here as well. All right, guys. Curious to see if I should short the NASDAQ again. There we go. That's pretty clean. All right, guys. Inflation data heated here. NASDAQ's now down a little bit. I'll short some more here. Let's see what we get. I'll give it a second. Size now. For retracement back down. Yeah, we did have hot inflation, means hawkish outlook. A little bit more confirmed here. Now, this is PPI inflation. There we go. We're green. Again, not an investment professional. Do not copy me. Again, Canadian GDP showed month-over-month prelim at 0.1%. 0.1%. There we go. That's better. We flush some more. Start to liquidate a little bit of this. There we go. Another drop. We'll cut a little bit more here. Leave the last little. Yeah, let's take a look at silver. Again, silver down to under $100 an ounce. Gold down to about $5,000 an ounce. Bitcoin did go up a little bit on this report. Data is fake? Maybe. But listen, nobody screams manipulation more than somebody that's wrong about a prediction. I'm not saying you're wrong. But anytime I hear somebody say numbers fake, listen, I'm not even arguing. A lot of the time, these numbers aren't very accurate. But we'll see. Again, we'll see. Again, PPI inflation data is out. 0.5% on the month. Versus 0.2% expected. So. Again, Bostic says inflation is too high. It needs to come down. Want clear evidence of return to 2% on CNBC. He did say that earlier. We're green again. I'll add a little bit to it, see if we continue to push down. I'm looking at that 775 level in that deck here. But again, take a look at the SPY here. SPY at 690s. Hey, brother, keep it simple. Up or down? Yo no say, sir. I don't know. I have no idea whether we're going to go up or down, brother. Genuinely no idea. Nobody does. I don't have a crystal ball. High inflation is generally not good, but it is producer inflation. We'll see if it can avoid getting passed on to consumers. But high inflation is generally not good. There's a reason the market reacted negatively. At the same time, though, the extension that we have in markets is on the downside over the last 24 hours. The market dropped a lot, especially Microsoft and others, Oracle, Netflix. They dropped a lot over the last few days. And so, you know, one could also argue the bull side today because of that extension on the downside yesterday. So basically, I don't know what the market's going to do right now. Higher inflation, government shutdown looming here at the very least. We're going to shut down for at least a day or two. And again, with that said, I don't know what we're going to do now. I genuinely don't know what we're going to do. Market's kind of chopping sideways here. And, you know, since we've had some green trades, I'll take a little bit of a risk here. But I'm not going to hold it too long either. Again, Warsh has been named the new FOMC chairman. So, we'll see what happens, but the Senate is saying they might not approve it if the president doesn't drop the Department of Justice lawsuit against the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. We're kind of somewhere in the middle with things today. People are interpreting Warsh as a little bit more hawkish than expected. Hassett, they think, would have been more dovish. But the president is nominating him, so he must have seen something he liked if we're wanting dovish action. Something that's not dovish, though, is today's inflation data. We got high inflation data. I'm going to start to cover some of this here in the green now. We got high inflation data, guys. High inflation data today. PPI inflation higher than expected, core higher than expected, headline higher than expected for both month over month and year over year values. Inflation means gold should go up, maybe. Gold can behave in that way, but it's not a certainty. Bitcoin's actually up a little bit from this report, which is odd because Bitcoin wants easy, right? And high inflation means less green light to ease by the Federal Reserve. All right, so Microsoft actually just popped up. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this. I don't know if this is Microsoft news or what. Oh, no, I'm adding to it. Oh, dude, I did it again. Cut this now. We'll switch accounts. I don't want to risk too much in this. But again, Microsoft just popped up. I don't know why. You see. Oh, something here. Okay, we're now pulling back. But an exponential is below us here, though. Still dropping some here. All right, guys. We did short into this pop, actually, but I'm worried we're going to bounce at the 200 exponential. So I don't really know what we're going to do. But we are green. Honestly, I want to see if we flush down here. I did buy Microsoft yesterday, too, and Microsoft seems to pop up pretty big. We'll cut a lot of this here. Did you see deck earnings? Is it Warsh cut rates, but shrink Fed balance sheet guy? Market pricing gold. Yeah, silver's falling down here. Nasdaq's starting to creep up. Yeah, I'm looking at us here. Nasdaq's kind of big range, but sideways, though. And again, we are heading into the opening bell in 45 minutes. We'll see what we get. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm kind of trading on a combine this morning instead of my funded account. I don't trust this market right now, and it's kind of choppy, and we just had PPI data, so I can take more risks. I can play with this a little bit more. If I lose, I lose. It's not the end of the world. I might short this 850 level heavy, though, here. If we reject 850 again. That's what I'm kind of looking at. I'm hoping we do. If not, we'll be all right. Here we go. We're green. Start to unload some of this here. Definitely trading more risky than I normally trade, but here we go. See if we come back down. We tapped my level here and rejected directly off of it. Can hold the rest flat. All right, we're out flat. It might still break down, but we made money. Yeah, Iran causing oil to spike for sure. It's Friday, guys. We do have Chicago PMI later. Bostic says, do not expect inflation to rise, but feel it could persist. Balance sheet grew in response to a crisis, but should back out of the MBS market. Current size of the balance sheet is about right. Needs to grow with the economy. 2 cuts is not baseline case. Expect inflation to be stubborn on CNBC. So he did say 2 rate cuts this year is not the base case. Expect inflation to be stubborn. Kind of in the midst of that right now. Bostic is always pretty hawkish. Always fearful of inflation, and so it's not a shock that Bostic is hawkish. But you know, the comments about 2 rate cuts this year is not the base case is obviously hawkish. All right, let's do a poll here, guys. Let's do a poll. Natty gas, yeah, natural gas has been running this morning as well. Look at natural gas. With high inflation, with today's high inflation print, are you bullish or bearish heading into the open? All right, bull or bear, guys? Let me know in chat right now. Bull or bear? Yeah, look at that level. 850s, guys. I'm telling you, we rejected right there. Yeah, and I think another winter storm is potentially hitting too. That's probably going to benefit natural gas as well. If you can predict the weather, you can make money in markets. With winter storms hitting, natural gas has been spiking over the last few weeks. We had that big winter storm over the last weekend, but now it's kind of heated up a little bit now. But another storm is potentially on the way, and natural gas spiked it up to $4. Again, so I asked people, with today's high inflation print, are you bullish or bearish heading into the open? 64% so far are bearish. 36% are bullish. All right, I'm going to short this again here. A little bounce to the 200 EMA. If we keep dropping. Let's see if that 200 exponential exit rate. Oh. All right, guys, so we're trying to get over that 200 EMA now. I want to see if it rejects it and pushes us back down. There we go. We're now green. We're going to liquidate a little bit of this again. There we go. More green. Look at this. There you go. That's what you love to see here. You can hold this a little bit longer. There we go. Nice. Scaling out of this now. I wanted to see if that 200 EMA rejected, and it did. Again, 200 exponential on a 1-minute chart, chat. Incredibly useful. Incredibly useful. I am going to throw it in sub-only mode. We'll hold the rest break even now since we made a bunch of money on this one. Go. Retracement down. A bit more profit there. Again, you guys red or green so far on the week right now? You guys red or green? Let me know. Alright, so we're now flat on the rest. I'll probably just cut. I mean, we're actually a little green, but alright, we're cutting that. Another green trade, we'll take it. Yeah, again, remember, Jerome Powell was picked by President Trump. And so people assume that just because the president picked him that he's going to sing his tune. And that's obviously not necessarily the case here regarding Jerome Powell. Honestly, like, look, I'm not very political. I'm not really looking into politics. But what I will say, people like to stress that Jerome Powell cut rates for the previous president, right? I would disagree with that. Jerome Powell cut rates 3 times. Yes, last year, or in 2024, Jerome Powell cut rates 3 times. People like to say he was doing that for Biden, and that's just not the case. He cut rates in September, November, and December. When did the president take office? In January, right afterwards. And so who do you think those rate cuts benefited? You guys think it benefited Biden's? No, it didn't. There's a lag behind things. You can cut interest rates. It's not going to, and so obviously it benefited the current president, the 3 rate cuts from 2024 at the very end of the year, right before this president took office. And so people like to criticize Jerome Powell. And I get it. I think it's a tough job. I think it's really, a lot of people are really pulled in different directions for it. But I think Powell's been pretty neutral. He's been pretty neutral. You could also argue, I think you could have argued we should have cut rates a little bit earlier in 2025. I think that is a reasonable argument that we could have cut rates earlier last year. But is it glaringly obvious? No. I think we've had high inflation. We've had weak jobs. It's one of those situations where you got to kind of pick your poison a little bit. And I think it's been pretty neutral. Yeah, a lot of people are pricing in Warsh is more hawkish than expected. Microsoft's still dipping down a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of profit off of Microsoft. I already made money on Microsoft no matter what, but here's Microsoft. We did buy the dip yesterday on Microsoft. Nasdaq's kind of chopping sideways here. I find it funny that the Fed is supposed to stay out of politics, yet a politician picks them. Yeah, I know. Listen, it's the political game we're in. Like, hey, stay independent, but we're gonna let the president pick you, but stay independent, guys, and I think that's a hard. Obviously, everybody has biases around things. That's normal. John Powell, listen, sign me up, bro. I'll be Fed chairman. I'll do it for free, I'll do it for free. I mean, if I'm picked as Fed chairman, I promise super high inflation, super weak jobs going forward for the next 10 years. Basically, I'll cut and raise at the same time, simultaneously. I'll do QE while simultaneously raising rates. All right. Pick me as Fed chairman. Nasdaq going higher, right? 25,832. Yeah, I got passed over again, guys. I'm not that happy about it. Yeah. All right, chat. Again, Nasdaq's kind of chopping sideways. Again, high PPI inflation data is the story of the day. Kevin Warsh being named FOMC chair is the story of the day. Silver gold corrections are part of the story of the day. Again, look at gold here. Gold is about to hit $5,000 an ounce, and I almost want to buy this. Hold on, let me see. I gotta be careful with gold, bro. I tried to buy gold. I tried to buy silver futures. They are wild in their price action, bro. You buy 3 silver futures, micro silver futures. I remember the other day I bought like 5 micro silver futures and I made $1,000 in 5 seconds. So wild swings. Y'all be careful in that futures market. Yeah, I promise beehives for everybody. Okay, water terraces, rooftop terraces, beehives. That's right. Yeah, if you don't understand that joke, Powell basically, one of the quotes that Powell made that has to do with the Department of Justice subpoena is that Powell basically said that the Fed building wouldn't have water terraces, you know, wouldn't have beehives. All right, so basically they're slumming it over there, you know. You know, they're depriving themselves of beehives and water terraces, guys. So, you know, they're really struggling over there, apparently. Anyways, NASDAQ sitting at 827s. 827s. I want to see if this 5,000 level bounces on gold here. And I might buy this dip on gold if we get down to 5K even. Again, we got Chicago PMI 945. It is Friday. Government's going to shut down tomorrow morning, no matter what. Government's going to shut down tomorrow morning, no matter what. House is not back in session until Monday. They did reach a deal in the Senate and the president. They did reach a deal, but even with that deal reached, there's no way for them to keep the government open. Kevin Warsh will be the first pro-Bitcoin chairman of the Federal Reserve, though. Michael Saylor just tweeted about it. Again, Bostic said a couple minutes ago that 2 cuts is not the baseline case. Expect inflation to be stubborn, but feels it could persist. He doesn't expect it to rise, but feel it could persist. Balance sheet grew in response to the crisis, but should back out of the MBS market. And the current size of the balance sheet is about right. Needs to grow with the economy. Nasdaq's chopping sideways here. Microsoft is rebounding a little bit. Again, we did have SanDisk earnings yesterday. It's up to 660s. Apple earnings yesterday. It's basically flat on the day as we speak now. And we are heading into the opening bell in 30 minutes, guys. 30 minutes to the open. Again, I keep seeing people asking, I thought we got a deal done for the government shutdown. Yes, but the House is not back in session. It needs to, since they changed. Okay, so this is basically what happened. The House sent the six-part deal to the Senate. All right, they both sides have to approve it, and then the president has to sign it. The House sent the 6-part deal, which included DHS funding, to the Senate. Senate rejected it. Did not vote yes to even. Did not vote for even going to a vote for that deal. Because of that, the Senate and the president worked out another deal, which would exclude Department of Homeland Security from the 6-bill package that was previously, so they had to change it and only fund DHS for 2 weeks while they work to negotiate that, but basically fund everything else. But because since they changed the deal, the House has to approve it first, or the House has to approve it before the government can resume operations and stay open. And the House is not back in session until Monday, and so the government shuts down tomorrow at midnight. Or yeah, technically it is tomorrow at midnight. At 12:01 a.m. tomorrow morning, government will be shut down. And again, the House isn't back in session until Monday, so they can't vote to approve this deal if they approve it until at the very least Monday. Government resumes Tuesday. So that's what's going on right now. So at the very least, we'll have at least a couple days shutdown, depending on how you define a couple days. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Yeah, I'm not muted. Yeah, NASDAQ started to push up. There's that 850 level we rejected. Gold did bounce. It didn't quite get to 5K, but it did bounce. Apple is now technically green. Silver, on the other hand, is at $98 an ounce here. Bitcoin at 82.7 an ounce. And again, a lot of Bitcoin and ETH expiring today, causing some sell-offs. Would you buy prediction markets? OpenAI and Brockman and A16Z contribute to pro AI super PAC, according to Axios. Fed's Waller's also speaking. They said inflation, excluding tariffs, is near the Fed's 2% goal and on path to reach it. Remember, Waller dissented in favor of a 25 basis point cut on Wednesday during the Fed meeting. So again, Waller did dissent in favor of a 25 basis point cut at the last meeting because they say policy is still restrictive and restricting activity too much. They said policy should be closer to neutral, perhaps around 3% for the current rate range of 3.5 to 3.75%. They said labor market remains weak despite some solid economic growth, but there's considerable doubt about future job growth. Virtually no growth in payroll employment last year in 2025. So Waller speaking right now. He said he dissented in favor of 25 basis point because policy is still restricting activity too much and there's risk to the labor market. Yeah, PPI was high. For sure. Higher than expected everywhere. Again, we did a poll. 55% are bearish heading into the opening bell. 45% are bullish here. Yeah, so procedurally, the House could vote on the shutdown thing today, but it's not scheduled, and leaders are signaling that bringing everyone back before Monday is highly unlikely. Again, the House passed the sixth bill package, formally in recess. So Johnson would have to call members back on short notice and line up a rule and floor vote. So Senate leaders and most outlets say the most likely path is that the Senate passes the revised deal sometime today. We get a brief partial shutdown starting after the deadline, and then the House returns Monday to ratify it. Government will be back open Tuesday. Now, Tuesday, we're supposed to get PPI inflation data as well here. Look at the NASDAQ fall. Or Tuesday, we're supposed to get the JOLTS report. So, again, we got 25 minutes until the opening bell. Let's see what we can get today with PPI inflation data. Again, bull or bear, guys. Bull or bear. 55% are bearish out of almost 400 votes. The new Fed is a hawk in dove clothing. However, he is a Bitcoin fan. Bitcoin should be mega bullish on the new Fed chair. He read the white paper and has no worries with Bitcoin. Yeah, Warsh. This guy right here is the new Fed chairman. Guys, Warsh, new Fed chairman. Bearish AF. Okay. Again, NASDAQ is very choppy and sideways on this Friday here. Very choppy and sideways. AMD taking a skinny dip. Yeah, we still got a little bit of time here. I don't trust Warsh will do the right thing for the broad economy. Yeah, a lot of people are saying he's hawkish, more hawkish than some of the other options here. So that's been putting pressure on yields. Again, yields are higher though from this. So yeah, yields are higher. Inflation data was hot as well, which contributes to higher yields. Higher inflation data means less green light to cut interest rates. Yields and interest rates follow each other. So interest rate sentiment is low, yields go down. Interest rate sentiment is high, like high inflation might cause yields go up. Warsh, again, people were worried Warsh is going to be hawkish. In Warsh, again, a lot of people are basically saying that there could have been a more dovish option. So, just to show you why they think Warsh himself is hawkish potentially here. Again, you take a look at this. I think Warsh is going to be hawkish for these reasons here. Again, Warsh spent his 2006 to 2011 Fed stint as one of the most vocal inflation hawks, warning about upside inflation risks even in 2009 when unemployment was 9% and inflation was under 1%. He has a long record of attacking quantitative easing and ultra low rates, arguing they distort markets, fuel bubbles, and help Wall Street over Main Street. He even opposed quantitative easing too while still on the board. Commentators and banks explicitly label him as an inflation hawk and less dovish than other candidates, expecting him to favor few low rate cuts than a Hassett Waller type pick. Again, they're treating his nomination as hawkish. Yields in the dollar have popped. Risk assets have sold off on the idea of the Fed is less eager to ease. Even recent profiles say that he is not as hawkish as he used to be. They still frame him as a disciplined conservative central banker, not pro-cut dove. Why markets are nervous. Which makes it interesting why the president picked him. If president wants lower interest rates, maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe they spoke about something and there's optimism after the interviews here with Warsh regarding interest rate cuts. All right, guys. Yeah, 20 minutes left. 20 minutes. Yeah, we're going to be day trading live today. Why silver dropped 10% overnight? Just corrections of gold and silver. Yeah, they're starting to pop back up though. Silver at 98, so gold is starting to pop back up. It's almost a 50. Nasdaq is honestly pretty choppy. High inflation data you would assume might benefit gold, but AI says markets are going to dump at the opening bell. We'll see if the AI is right. More manipulation. Still some decent prices at the grocery. I'll make it another week. Volatile today, which means could probably sell options. Yeah, I mean, we do have some potential volatility today. See what we get. I don't want to short this, but I'm going to wait. I should have. Yeah, the 200 exponential, I mean, we're chopping around it now. So sideways chop. Starting to break down a little bit here, though, ahead of the opening bell. Bitcoin's still rising, almost to 83,000, so maybe some optimism with crypto. Again, Warsh is seen as more pro-crypto. So a little bit of contradictory characteristics. Pro-crypto, but hawkish in terms of inflation. Again, Waller said inflation excluding tariffs is near the Fed's 2% goal and on path to reach it. Heard of multiple layoffs planned for 26 with considerable doubt about job growth and risk of substantial deterioration. Policy should be closer to neutral, perhaps around 3% versus current range of 3.5 to 3.75. So they basically are saying that we should cut rates another 75 basis points to get to neutral. We're currently at 3.5 to 3.75. You guys agree with that? You know, you agree? And do you guys agree? Opening bell in 18 minutes. Again, Bitcoin popped up to 83,000 even. Silver still falling down. Look at silver. It's under $98. Gold's retracting. Look at this 200 exponential on gold as well. Look, it's right. 200 EMA. You should let me. Yeah, 200 exponential is right here on gold. Rejected it. Problem on the NQ is that we're just kind of chopping around it right now sideways. We got this range, obvious range here. This range that we're just kind of chopping in right now for markets. We'll see what happens here. We're kind of just in this choppy sideways neutral range. Again, you can kind of see Bitcoin is pushing up. Bitcoin rising a little bit. Gold still dipping down, or silver still dipping down. Gold's pulling back a little bit. Again, we had high inflation data today, guys. High inflation. PPI inflation was higher than expected, basically everywhere. Yet it is Friday. Market news is a little light. Warsh spoke saying we need to bring rates down more. Essentially. LLMs are excellent at imitating intelligence. The inability for it to expand into AGI is why VC significantly slowed AI momentum. Disagree? No, that's crazy. Volatile today. Yeah, we're in a range right now. But if it happens, we'll see if Oracle and Netflix start to bounce back though. They're down a lot over the last few. Oracle's back up a little bit today though, so that's nice, but pretty big percentage down. Warsh, yeah, again, people are concerned about Warsh being hawkish. Again, inflation data, guys, was not good. 15 minutes, 15 minutes. AMD. Yeah, AMD is breaking down here. Is this the competition in regards to what did I see this morning? Well, some tech news earlier today, but AMD's breakdown started about 15 minutes ago. I don't see any justification for AMD. See? Jim Cramer said AMD CEO just keeps winning. Yeah, I don't see any specific headline. There's talks and rumors on Wall Street of potential delayed chip shipment with AMD. That's what's going on here. Potential delayed chip shipment for AMD. Rumblings. These are rumors. They're not confirmed to be true. These are rumors, but AMD on these rumors is down to 238s right now. That's what I'm showing. Potential chip shipment delays for AMD, dragging it down a little bit in pre-market ahead of the opening bell. That's what I'm showing right now. Again, it's just rumors though. Rising Sun says, bro, I share your stream with my peeps. Best live in the morning. Appreciate it. Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate the support. All right, guys, 13 minutes into the opening bell. Again, bullish or bearish open, guys. Let me know. 53% are bearish. It's kind of pivoted back down. It was like 65%. The bulls stepped in, though, and they're now. A lot of people are voting bullish here. Again, we're down so much over the last 24 hours in a lot of stocks that, you know, maybe based off of extension, we could rebound back up is what a lot of people are thinking. Again, I don't know. Bear. I see some bears. I'm buying silver now. Yeah, one of the things I dislike about both sides of the political spectrum is that most people just take what their political side says and just agree with it regardless of it. Like, it's so easy to get people riled up on both sides that I just kind of avoid it. At a certain point, it becomes a situation in which what both sides are saying, they're both trying to smear the other one. And so what both sides say isn't true most of the time, right? They're so desperate to smear the other side that the facts fall behind, so to speak. Again, because of that, I'm always pretty neutral on a lot of this stuff. I'm not really getting involved because I think both sides are toxic in their own ways. And I think a lot of people just rep their side like it's their football team. I think human beings are tribalist in nature anyway. So that's how it goes. I try to be resilient to it, but you get AMD breaking down on rumors of delayed shipments. Gold up to 5080s here. Silver all the way down to 9790s. Yeah, a lot of puns for Kevin Warsh today. Hey, is he washed up or is he gonna do a good job? I don't know. Massive oversimplification. Yeah, I mean, maybe, brother. Again, it doesn't matter. It's all love, Fimmy. You're good, dude. I try not to discuss it. People ask me about it. That's the only thing I can really say is I dislike both sides. NASDAQ at 830s here, 830s. Copper today? What's copper? Copper is, what is it? It's not HG. Yeah, it is HG. Copper. Natural gas is in copper's HG. Yeah. Copper's at $6. It's down on the day. Time to buy copper. I mean, it went up to 650s yesterday, all the way back down to 6. Largest one-day drop for silver is 16%. This could top it. Yeah, let's see. I mean, silver's up a huge amount, though, but let's see if it holds. Silver's definitely something we're watching. Silver's still breaking down. It's at $98, so it did bounce a little bit. It was at 97s a minute ago. So $98 now. Let's see if it holds. Made some wild swings lately. Wild swings. NASDAQ's completely flat. Silver's starting to pop a little bit. So is gold right now. Again, we have 8 minutes left until the opening bell chat. 8 minutes. Again, Waller did speak this morning. They said inflation, excluding tariffs, is near the Fed's 2% goal and on path to reach it. Heard of multiple layoffs planned for this year with considerable doubt about job growth and significant risk of substantial deterioration. Policy should be closer to neutral. Perhaps around 3% versus current 3.5 to 3.75. They expect weak job numbers from last year to be revised lower to reflect virtually no growth in payroll employment in 2025. NASDAQ starting to bounce back. Bitcoin up to almost 83,000. And again, silver at 98.8s. 98.8s. Gold at 5,100s. Talk of silver being $75 an ounce by the end of the day. Yeah, we'll see. All right, guys, 7 minutes. All right, we're at 835s for the NASDAQ. Still pretty quiet here. Gold back over that 200 exponential moving average. We're at over 5100s for gold. I'm curious to watch this $100 level for silver. I really want to see if we break 100 right here. There's $100 for silver. Gold over 5K. I'm definitely watching 5,000 again as well for these. And 83,000 is something I'm watching for Bitcoin short term. We'll see if it holds that level. Again, here is $100 for silver right here. 5,000 for gold is right here. So we're watching these levels. Big milestone whole dollar numbers is what we're paying attention to today. 6 minutes left until the open. NASDAQ, I am looking at 26,000 way above us. But really, I'm looking at the short-term range on the NQ. That looks like about this. We've been in this range for a while now on the NASDAQ. And so we will see if we break out of this range. Again, I don't know. Again, let me know bull or bear at the open, guys. Interesting market today, though. Name an industry that uses silver. Tech. iPhones. Technology in general. No. Data centers. I mean, silver is pretty widely used. Technology. And that's a pretty that's a pretty encompassing sector. A lot of different sectors, or a lot of different parts of technology that use silver. Because of that, historically, there's been somewhat of an incentive to keep the price low for margin purposes. In defense, too, yeah. Any technology. Vampire hunting. All right, guys, here we go. Opening bell in 5 minutes. Interesting day today, guys. Very interesting day. Oh. Here we get 4 minutes left. 4 minutes. Again, Kevin Warsh will be the youngest Fed governor in history. Or Kevin Warsh was the youngest Fed governor in history during 2008. Said the Fed waited too long to raise rates in 2022. Said the Fed lost credibility by overstimulating post 2020. Said QE inflates bubbles and worsened inequality. Wants a smaller Fed balance sheet and more focus on price stability. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with most of this stuff, to be honest here. I think the Fed overstimulated in 2020. I think QE causes inflation and bubbles. I think they probably waited too long to raise rates in 2022, considering inflation got up to 9+% in CPI inflation, consumer price index inflation. And so I don't really disagree with most of these, opinions from Warsh regarding the last, 20 years. I don't necessarily disagree. You guys disagree with those? Because I don't, not necessarily. Just came in. What's happening today? Well, Kevin Warsh is named new FOMC chairman starting in May of next year. At least that's who he was appointed. PPI inflation showed up incredibly higher than expected, 0.5% versus 0.2% expected for month-over-month readings. Core PPI was higher than expected. Headline PPI was higher than expected for both year-over-year and month-over-month readings. You can see those numbers at the bottom of the chat, as well as in the blue at the bottom. So high inflation. Kevin Warsh, somewhat more hawkish of a pick that fears inflation, named as the next FOMC chairman. Government shutdown looms this, at the end of today. The government will shut down starting tomorrow, unless by some miracle the House leader calls the House back in to vote on keeping the government shut down, which is incredibly unlikely today. But we should get a Senate vote today, and then the House comes back Monday. So at the very least, we're probably going to shut down for at least a few days. But maybe starting on Monday, we'll get the government back and rolling here. So again, NASDAQ starting to break down. It's probably the market on open, I'm assuming here. And here we go. We got the opening bell in about 2 minutes, guys. 2 minutes. What the NASDAQ does here. Onto your cowboy boots. We had PPI inflation come out. PPI was okay the last time, but PPI inflation dropped this morning higher everywhere. Alright guys, here we go. We got a minute to the open. Apple dumps, yeah. Oracle's popping up right now if you look at it. I get silver at $98 an ounce. Here's Oracle. You see a little bounce in Oracle here. Polar bear for the opening bell. Microsoft just popped really high as well. Huge bounce for Microsoft. Apple's down pretty substantially right now. It's at 250s. AMD's dropping a lot this morning as well. It's at 230s on worries and rumors of delayed chip shipments. All right, guys, here we go. Opening bell, 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Do we get hit the live button next to the play button, put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up to the stream here. Yeah, guys, who is this in the corner right here? Who is this? I don't know who that is. He just showed up this morning. I don't know who that is. Let me know. There's the opening bell, guys. There's the opening bell. All right, guys, we're up to 860s. It's a little bit of a spike at the opening bell. Let's see if it holds, though. It's too early for me to day trade this. It's too early for me to day trade this. We do have some market momentum coming back on the upside, though. See if it continues here. What's silver doing? Silver's flat at the opening bell. I'm watching Meta, Microsoft. Microsoft's falling down. Alphabet, flat. AMD starting to rebound a little bit after the opening bell. Nvidia up to 190s. SanDisk is kind of consolidating sideways, but it had a big day. And then yesterday we also had Apple. Look at the market rip. The opening bell. Whoa. Big green open so far now. Big green open. See if the market holds. See if we can break 26,000 right now. Will we break 26,000 here, chat? Market got a pretty big pop. All right, guys, now we're correcting a little bit back down here. So we're starting to turn the other way here. Netflix did just pop pretty nicely, though, so you love to see it. Interesting market open, though. We've had some stocks that pushed up, some stocks that pushed down. Again, Netflix is... Bitcoin is dropping at the opening bell. It's at 82.7s right now. 82.7s for Bitcoin here. Yeah, well, that second candle completely retraced the big green open we saw. Maybe it just looks big and green because of how much pressure we've seen, or how much sideways chop we've seen. I would short this, to be honest, just because we retraced all the way back down, and I think that's a bear sign. But yeah, as we continue to drop, but we are at the 200 exponential. But I would short this if we weren't so close to the open. I'd probably, as we break down more. Gold pushing back up to 5100s here. Silver back up to 99s, almost $100 an ounce for silver. Let's see if that holds. There's 850 in the NASDAQ here. We're kind of swinging in both directions. Netflix is green and had a big resurgence. Oracle's gone up and down. All right, we're sitting tight here. Gotta wait a couple minutes to trade. We're 3 minutes into the opening bell now. Bitcoin popping back up over 83,000 right now. Bitcoin is over 83K now. Silver's starting to rebound too. It's at 99.70s, right around $100 an ounce for silver. So we're still kind of close, but you know, I'll short this. See if I get punished for it. We had enough green trades in pre-market to help me not worry too much about this. There we go. Immediately cut some of this. It's pretty close to the opening bell. There's the... All right, we're out most of this here. Hold the rest break even. Maybe add to it. Go. Alright, we're out. Made money on the trade, but I saw the retracement coming. I cut it. See if 850 keeps rejecting here. Gold, again, all the way up to 51.20. Silver right at $100 an ounce. Bitcoin up to over 83,000 as well here. Starting to rebound back up. Go back green on the day here. Let's see if this holds, chat. How dare I trade at 933? I know. Listen, I'm breaking my rules, guys. Yell at me. I deserve it. Listen, I deserve this. You know? All right, guys. I might go long here. We pull back a little bit enough to get me some cheap entries on a long trade. Let's see if it does. Gold and silver back over some previous milestone levels. Gold over 51.30s. Silver over $100 an ounce. There's 905. Look at that level reject here. I'm not saying it's the best level. I'm gonna buy this now. There we go. I believe here. There we go. There we go. All right, we cut most of this now. Let me get out there. It might be time to buy the dip again. Let me see. Right here. There we go. Yep. All right, let's see if we want to add to this or what we want to do here. We're kind of choppy, though. It's not really easy to predict the momentum. That bounce level worked, though. Add to this, see if it works. Go, we're gonna cut that again. All right, so we did make money on that trade too. We got to bounce as soon as we entered here. We're 5 minutes into the day. We do have Chicago PMI data at 9:45. Not a big release. Expected at 43.5, 43.5 for January. We'll see what happens. My stocks are almost green on the day. That's always a good sign. All right, guys. Are we dipping down here again? Should I buy this again? I'll try one. Although the risk now that we break down much more is higher. But we'll see if we get a little pop back up. Little pop. All right, we're out. We got immediate pop. Again, we're green on the day, but not getting much follow through in our trade. Silver now back under $100 an ounce. Gold is back at 5,100 again. Bitcoin's testing 83,000 right now. Yeah, I'm not holding these for very long today just because I don't trust the follow through we're getting. All right, here's a turn back down. Let's watch 850s. Not really going to mess with it, though. I think I'm going to wait. Here's 850s, though. Watch it bounce heavy here at 850. 830's 200 exponential right here if it doesn't bounce at 850. MA level. That's a big red candle. Let's see. Kind of a choppy open. Yeah, there's the 200 exponential, man. That thing just not disappoint. Look at the 200 EMA right there. We might continue down though. Got balled up heavy. Look at that level, man. I'm telling you. Guys, 200 exponential, 1 minute chart. Pivot point, what it is. Hey, $1 is good. Green is good, Tony. We get Chicago PMI in about 7 minutes here. Microsoft still breaking down? Yeah, I cut Microsoft earlier in the morning. Man, the 200 exponential, guys, that thing just freaking works. Can't guarantee it's going to work. I'm not an investment professional, but still. Again, Fitch affirms European Union and Euratom at AAA. Outlook is stable, according to them. Again, Michael Saylor says Kevin Warsh will soon become the first pro-Bitcoin chair of the Federal Reserve. Stanley Druckenmiller says Kevin Warsh is not a permanent policy, quote-unquote, hawk. House GOP leaders are delaying their call today until late afternoon. Again, leaders are targeting a Monday vote at the earliest on the spending deal. All right, here we go. We bounced at the 200 EMA. We're back up to 25,900s. You know, 26,000 is not that far away. It's this green line right here. So 26K, you start to get close to it. I might start buying up more. Again, Bitcoin rising as well. Over 83,000 right now. Silver and gold are kind of flat here. Again, you can look at stocks like Nvidia pushing up. Apple is down. AMD is filling the gap. Alphabet is pushing higher here this morning. Oracle is down a little bit. Netflix is up pretty decently here to 83s, 84s as we speak. So I might look for a dip to buy. It just depends. It might start small here if we do buy a dip. 905 right here. Do that level hold too. Yeah, so next week we are scheduled to have a bunch of stuff. We're scheduled to have next week we're scheduled to have JOLTS. We're scheduled to have the labor report, jobless claims, ISM manufacturing and services next week. So we got some stuff going on. I'm looking to buy this dip. 52% said bear. You're bullish. Look at Netflix rip. Let's see if we can buy a little pullback here. Looking at 26,000, I think we're close. Let's see if we get a large enough dip to buy. I will try to buy this here starting now. Maybe add to this. There we go. A little bit of profit on the pop. Let's see if we can get a little bit more. I'll add back down. We'll play with some bigger risk here if we can pop right now. There's 905s, which is what I wanted. Here we go. There. All right. Give it a second now. Go. Half off there. Give it some more time. Up a couple hundred on the trade. I think. Or around that. Might add back down here. There we go. We're off there on the pop again. All right, we cut it mostly flat. So yeah, we made some good money on there. I got out before it started to turn though. Might still bounce here. And 905s. See. 900's right there too. So we're gonna try to jump right back in here. Oh, that's a big turn. Don't love to see it. I got balled up though. Cut it and wait. Okay, we got Chicago PMI in 2 minutes, so I'm probably gonna wait until we get Chicago PMI again coming out today. It's expected about 44. 44 is the median forecast for Chicago PMI. Moran goes on TV at 1 o'clock today. Mersalam does a speech in St. Louis, or St. Louis Fed. Mersalam does a speech at 1:30, and then Bowman does another speech at 5. Let's see what we get here. Bitcoin's still pushing up. Let's see if we hold. But again, we are expected at about 44 for Chicago PMI in about 1 minute. Again, Chicago PMI about 44. This is the Purchasing Managers Index. If it does anything reasonable here. I'm not going to buy a dip now. I think I'm just going to wait. All right, guys, here we go. PMI coming out in about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Who's the guy at the bottom left? Dude, this guy right here? I don't know who that is. He just kind of showed up this morning in my OBS. I don't know what happened. I don't know who that is. Let me know, chat, who you think that is. Again, here we go. Here goes Chicago PMI. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. I don't know how much this is going to affect markets. We'll see. All right, here we go. And here's Chicago PMI right now. About 2 seconds, 1 second. And here's the drop. 54. Should have been 54. Way stronger than expected. Chicago PMI at 54 versus 44 expected. 54 versus 44 expected for Chicago PMI. I'm going to try to buy some of this here and maybe add into this position. Expecting a potential bounce right now. We also have that 850 level, which has held big support. Here we go. Yep. Maybe gonna add back some size. I believe we can bounce some more. There we go. Not a whippy though. We'll add back. Here we go into some size around 850 here. See if we can retrace back up. We've been pretty choppy this morning though, so again, I'm trying to give it time, but it's a little whippy in markets today with this. Again, we do have a cushion on the day already, so we can take some risk. I'm gonna give it time to bounce. 850s is right there. If we pop at 850s, 200 exponentials right below that. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see a bounce and it just didn't. That's all right. Still break it down. I'm surprised the Chicago PMI didn't make people more optimistic about some of this stuff. Man, the 200 EMA, bro. I should just pivot to only trade the 200 EMA bounce, dude. Just only the 200 exponential bounce. That thing works most of the time. You see a huge bounce in the 200 EMA. We got another one here. Even if we don't hold, like, it makes a pit stop there. Again, Bitcoin's starting to pull back down. We're now back down to almost 83s. We did get a really nice bounce, actually, but I didn't want to do it on stream because I was honestly kind of stressed about it. Look at this bounce. We'll continue to add to this, maybe. There we go. Look at that bounce. Get some more here. I don't want too much chop. But we're very green now on the day. A little bit more off up there. See if we continue to retrace back up. Might add back some size here. I don't want a cup and handle move though, so we'll see if we get a pop. Kind of going back and forth today, honestly. We're trading with some risk and then giving it back and then trading with some. Go back up. Go. Gotta be patient, but struggling to hold over some of these levels. There we go. $850's right there. I want to see if we bounce here though. Not gonna hold this very long if we don't. We already pretty green. Yep, took profit into that bounce here. We'll add some size back. Smaller size now though, because we've already made a bunch from it. I don't want to take too much risk here, but there's the bounce we wanted. We're out. Alphabet's flying back up too. Also, Kevin Warsh is Fed chairman. I think he's probably pretty reasonable in his historical opinions regarding rates, inflation. Again, that's Kevin Warsh in the bottom left corner, if you guys haven't figured it out already. New Fed chairman. Yeah, SoFi went up big on earnings. I'm in SoFi as well. But it kind of gave it all back here. I didn't even see it. You don't love to see it for SoFi. Alright, so again, we're starting to push up here. As we get higher, I'm gonna... Ooh, that's a bad fill. As we get higher, I am going to continue to bet on the long side just as we get closer to 26,000. I will add down here. We're getting close to 26,000. So I do want to give it a chance. We're up about $700 on the day, so we have a cushion here. And I just want to take maybe the highest probability bet that I can, which I think is going to be a test of 26,000 today, hopefully here. 20 contracts. Let's give this time to work. It's a whippy day though, man, especially in futures. I'm going to take some of the size off. I want to see if 900 and 905 props this up again. I'm going to go back and forth. There we go. There we go. Yep. More off here at the top. Again, my bias has been pretty up today. I think we went down a lot yesterday too, but we're not really. Every time we get to the top of the range here, kind of rejecting. So I'm going to unload some of this here close to the top. Probably just get out there. Yeah, we're up over 700 now on this one. Looking at 905s to cause bounces here, but these retracements scare me. They don't look that big when you're zoomed out, but I'll look for 905 again maybe. 905. Ooh, that's a big pullback. I'm gonna wait. In Chicago, PMI didn't come out way stronger than expected. It was like 54 versus 44. So we did have stronger Chicago PMI. Oh. I am tempted to buy this dip, but I also think the market's giving it a lot back. We'll probably buy it down here. What, like 10 contracts here? If we retrace back up fast. If we don't, it's just looking choppy. Okay, I'm gonna reduce size. A very large pullback here. We'll try this other account that we have on the day. All right, market's starting to flush back down here. Again, will we maintain chop or continue down? Here's the question. I don't know. Market's been pretty stagnant. Been big range all day. It's sideways, but big range. A fairly large retracement back up. Keep dipping now. Look at these drops here. Quick drops. We're not really holding down though, is the thing. Pop it up much higher here. And another try to pop back up. Again, we're kind of stagnating here. We're almost at 10 o'clock in the morning. See if we pop back up. It looks like we want to go higher here. But it's been kind of fake out city in markets too. Be careful today, guys. Now we're coming back down quickly. See. Gonna go push out fast or what? We're seeing a pretty major dip all of a sudden. Alright, let's I'm gonna try to buy this dip, but it's choppy here. We're gonna try. See what we get. We'll add to it. There we go. There we go. Alright, we're out of that as well. SoFi wrecked. Yeah, I see SoFi dumping. Gold's starting to come back down too. Look at silver. 99.30s for silver. You guys are bearish or bullish today? Bearish or bullish so far? Gotta jump in. Risk on this account. There we go. Putting up a cushion here. Go pushing. Add some size back here since now we have a large cushion on this account as well. Kind of buy in the bottom of the range, sell in the top, but it's not easy to figure out which way we're heading here. Now we're probably down. No, we're right back up. It's Friday, guys. The markets are honestly a little whippy. There we go. We're green. Push up more. It's hard to figure out what the market's going to do. We're close enough. There we go. All right, we're going to start unloading some of this. We're close enough to 26,000 where I think the bulls might try to power this in. But we're also kind of whippy the last few days here, so it's hard to tell. It's a combine, so I'm just going to swing for the fences here. See if I can make the profit real quick. We're at 850s. I want to see if that level holds. If we lose it, we lose it. I'll do it for the stream. The other combine we got funded already on the day. Maybe I just got bad timing here with this one. Yeah, it's all right. We took 2 swings. The other one we got funded on the day, so it's okay. This one, we are up to. If you look at the trades, we're green on this one, up 3,050. Nasdaq's starting to turn red though here. Let's see what gold and silver do. I am net bearish until Warsh's approach to policy. VIX coming down. The VIX is probably gonna be heading up right now. Look at this drop right around 10 o'clock. Yeah, the VIX is gonna be bouncing a little bit probably right now. Same time yesterday. Yeah, a lot of people have a theory about 10 a.m. and drops. This isn't really a crash though, guys. Like if you zoom out here and you look at the actual range, realistically we're pretty sideways. Like we're making big moves up and down, but realistically it's not like a big crash. Big crash would be like this, you know? That's not what we're in right now. We've had some big swings the last few days though. If you look at it, like a 5-minute chart will probably clear it up. We had some big drops last few days. And again, we're heading into the potential shutdown today. And it's looking unlikely that we're not going to shut down. So, at this point in time, odds makers price in about a 76% chance of government shutdown. 76% likelihood. And you can see this has increased. Again, I'll tell you guys the dynamic here. This is probably going to be something in which we... This is going to be something in which we shut down for a few days and then resume early next week in the government. So, it's not going to be like last time, which was a month and a half. But the Senate and the president have approved a deal, right? But the House has to vote on it first. And, you know, we're not going to have the House back to vote on it until at least Monday. So at the very earliest, we'll get a House vote is Monday. And so what that means is that as of tomorrow morning, the government will be shut down until at the very least Monday. Let me know what day you think the government will resume. Yeah, we're still kind of neutral here. Again, if you look and zoom in on the range, it's really difficult to trade. There's not a lot of volume today, to be honest. So, difficult to trade. Again, President elected Kevin Warsh. A little bit more hawkish. Bitcoin back over 83s. Let's see what happens. The Nasdaq rejecting cleanly here. Very choppy right now. Very choppy. I'm going to cut out of here, guys. I just don't see anything good worth trading right now. Nothing really looks reasonable to trade here, guys. So with that said, I'm going to cut out of here. Again, y'all be good. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We did break 169,000 in subscriber growth. So I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. And yeah, we'll be back next week to cover at least the couple days the government shut down. If they don't delay the payroll report, we get a payroll report on Friday next week. They shouldn't delay it, in my opinion. The government shutting down over the weekend and for maybe one day during the week should not make them delay the payroll report, in my opinion. Now, Tuesday's JOLTS report is a little bit more at risk. Okay, so Tuesday's JOLTS report is a little bit more at risk. there's definitely more risk in that regard to the Tuesday's JOLTS job opening report because the government might be shut down leading into all that stuff. But with that said, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what happens, guys. Monday next. It'll be the first trading day of February, technically February 2nd. So, yeah. Y'all be good. Have a great day. Market's flat. Be careful today. Wimpy, choppy. Not a lot going on. I appreciate the love. Minneapolis may extend the shutdown. No, they've already worked out a deal. The deal that they have worked out right now, guys. The deal they have worked out right now is that they're going to do the 5 bills funding most of the government. They're going to do a short-term extension to DHS for only 2 weeks while they negotiate that further. So they're going to separate DHS from everything else and only keep the DHS open for another 2 weeks while they work out the negotiations there in that regard. So that's the current deal right now. Yeah, so y'all be careful. I'll see you guys next week. And yeah, y'all be good. Great day. See you guys next week. For like the 5th time. Later, chat. Have a good day.